Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and president of that firm. We are glad you are here to learn more ways about how to solve marketing issues in the business space. We love to answer the questions that we think you'll have on your own space on how do you do things a little better. In fact, we'd love for you to come back to YouTube and search for us by asking a question. How do I just fill in that blank? So, for example, how do I communicate better with LinkedIn Messenger? How to build a Facebook ad audience? How can you build a business using a community on social media? These are all questions that we've answered in the past. Come back, go to YouTube. You can look at ePresence and look for our answers to those questions, or just go straight to our channel. We are always great at identifying great guests, and you're going to see as we have one today, and great topics, but you do know you can send us in something. We'd be happy to look for a guest that can answer that question. So send us those questions either right on our channel or using any of our social media spots. If you're tuning in live, jump in. Send us a message. I better turn on the comments window so I can see it. Send us a message. We will answer your question live. Our guest will be happy to answer your question live. So what are we going to talk about today? So you don't want to go anywhere. This is going to be a great show. We're going to talk about podcasting, how to become an influencer, right? Don't we all want to be an influencer? We're going to share how you can use data analytics to target your market and even more. So stay here. Don't go anywhere. When you want to see this show in the future, go to YouTube, search ePresence, how to become a social media influencer, or how to build your podcast. Okay, now that you find us, make sure you subscribe. So put up that subscribe button. Am I going to go the right way? Yes. So hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live, you'll be able to jump in and ask us a question right when we go live. And that is true everywhere. If you're on LinkedIn, follow the channel on LinkedIn. You'll get this notification right on your phone. You can join in, put it on the side, listen to what we're talking about, and you can always jump in because I know we typically do this in the middle of the day. Also, remember, we have a webinar. So if you watch that little banner at the bottom, and I'll talk about this at the end, we continue to offer good education on how you can leverage your LinkedIn profile a little better. You can join us for a 1-hour webinar, and it's right there at the bottom at that tab. Well, let's get on to it. Get on with it here. We have a great show. Our guest today is Dr. Joe Sallustio. Joe, are you there?
I am here. How are you, Mark?
I am great. Welcome. Glad you're here. Where are you coming from? Where are you sitting right now?
Oh, in my bedroom. Where else would I be sitting? This is a home
like
office.
Like all of us, right?
I roll out of bed. I help get the kids going. I come right back up to the bedroom. I work here all day. I have a break, and then I go right back to sleep. So I never leave my bedroom here in Chino Hills, California, which is in Southern Cal.
Chino Hills. So in Chino Hills, give me an idea. If I wanted to get to some place that I would recognize, how far would it take to get to get to LA?
Well, that depends. During coronavirus, less time than after coronavirus.
Sure.
So it takes about an hour and a half with traffic to get from Chino Hills into Los Angeles. Without traffic, you could probably do it in about 35 minutes.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. Okay, that's a big difference. What about to Northern Cal? How far are you from the Bay Area?
Probably about 6 hours. Probably about 5.5, 6 hours. Yeah, and we're like, the best way to imagine this is there's Orange County, and so the tip of Orange County is Brea and Yorba Linda. If you go around these hills about 20 minutes, then you get to Chino Hills, which is at a border of LA County and San Bernardino County.
Got it. Well, so it's great. I'm glad that you're here. What time is it there? You're 3 hours behind us. Is it 10:30 or 11:30?
It's at 10:30. Had coffee. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Good. All right. Fantastic. Well, we are glad you're joining us all the way from the wonderful state of California. So let's talk a little bit about who you are. You've got a great resume. Well, it's actually not a resume in your space. What is it called in the higher ed field? It's called
it's curriculum vitae or whatever. I don't go by any of that stuff. I got a resume. Give me a break here. I put my French to the test. I have a resume. Anybody that wants to call it anything other than that is kidding themselves, in my opinion.
Well, the bio here says you have a master's in French.
Not possible. That's not possible. Oh gosh, right. I took Spanish for 3 years. I might be able to give you a couple words in Spanish, but that's it.
Oh, I love that. I think it's fantastic. All right, so folks, here's all about Joe. So you have led an online higher education. Actually, you've done a lot of online higher ed work, both regionally, nationally, for profit, nonprofit universities. And you really cut your teeth on learning how to both run them and promote them. How long did you do that kind of work?
I've been doing that kind of work for about 19 years.
Wow,
yeah, about 19 years. And it's higher ed's very competitive. So you have to be an expert marketer in order to survive and thrive in the industry.
Good. All right. And so you're with Claremont Lincoln University, and they are based in Claremont, California. Where's Claremont?
All right, so Claremont is really at the east end of LA County. It's north of Pomona. For all of everybody looking it up on Google right now in geography, it is a very small town, like you're going back in time. There's four corners. The city of Claremont does not allow in any franchise businesses. So there's a Starbucks, which has since shut down, but they're all mom and pop shops. So you have to go outside of the proper Four Corners area to hit some of those big box stores and so on. So it's very, retro, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Very cool. I need to go check that out. I think that sounds very interesting. You've got a few things. I mean, I will tell you this, folks, he is the most educated, one of the most educated folks we've ever had on the show. You have your doctorate in organizational leadership from North Central University. You've got a master's in organizational leadership focusing on human resources from Regis, and you got your undergrad all the way back east from the State University in New York College in
Oneonta.
Oh, I didn't practice that before we started the show. Oneonta. Okay. There's a lot of vowels in that name.
There is.
And you also host a podcast called Ed Up Experience. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the EdUp Experience, we started, my co-founders and I, Elvin Freites and Elizabeth Leiba, we started in January of 2020. We just saw a lack of information about higher education. And most people, Mark, I don't know if you feel this way, but when someone says higher education, it's usually not synonymous with fast. People think higher education, immediately think it's slow. So we said, we're going to bring on the most important voices within higher education and talk to them. And so we've since been able to grow the podcast to about 150 plus episodes. We've interviewed over 50 college presidents and 100 countries, all 50 states have listened to the podcast. And we've had guests like, we've had the CEO of Logitech. We've had the director of education at Google. We've had a global head of education at Amazon Web Services, amongst all of those HBCU and private college presidents. We've been very lucky and blessed, and we have fun, just awesome. Like you do.
That is awesome. Well, let's see. I'm not a supporter of Logitech. I got one other thing here. What is it? Oh, so this advanced. So when I do presentations, I use this presenter. This thing with Logitech, This thing is awesome. If anyway, so I need to go back and check out that podcast. I think
maybe I can intro you because he is one of the coolest guys. I mean, down to earth, cool guy, loves to come on and talk. His name's Bracken Darrell. Shout out to you, Bracken. He is awesome.
Well, I would love to meet him, and I genuinely think that they are one of the top tier computer peripheral providers out there, because literally everything all my peripherals are all made by them.
Yep.
Well, that is cool. Well, we're not here to talk about Logitech, although I think I could. Let's jump into some of the things that you can certainly lend a lot of knowledge in on this conversation. So let's start with this. How can someone use podcasting? And I'm going to find this very interesting. How can someone use podcasting to become an influencer in their niche?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I have fun with this answer because podcasting, first of all, podcasting is fun and you have to figure out what you want to talk about, right? So you find a topic that you're passionate about and you start talking about it. Most people do that, but then they don't use it. And so podcasting, as you know, Mark, it gives you a evergreen audio file that you can use in a number of ways. You can use it in email campaigns. You can attach it to your LinkedIn profile. You could cut it into audio clips. You can do a lot with it. Most people think that, and this is my opinion, so that, you take this with a grain of salt. Most people think podcasting is about getting as many downloads of your podcast as possible. And although that is one metric that you want to measure,
it's a good one.
For me, the measurement is if my guest shares it to their network, to the people that are not listening to my podcast. And so what I can do is leverage my guest, me in this case, to share my podcast, yours, with my network, who may be a completely different market, completely different niche than the people that you currently serve. They may listen, they may not, but what they will do is definitely hear about my podcast. And so as I create more episodes, as I share more content, as those eyeballs become more in front of my product, I can then go on and I can sell. I can sell a product, I can sell a service, I can sell my brand, I can sell anything. And so it's not just downloads that matter. So your podcast, how do you become an influencer in your niche and in your area? Create something and get people on board with sharing it. And that is going to bring more eyeballs to your product. Now, if podcasting is your primary product, that's one thing. But usually podcasters have a secondary product, or podcasting is their secondary product and they're using it to help brand themselves. And so do you attach it to your LinkedIn profile? Do you have a website where you put all your podcast episodes? And no, not the Anchor site, not the Apple site. Do you actually have a website that you brand and you market to potential customers? And so using podcasting, I call it new media, right? During COVID, you can't go to lunch with anybody. You can't do those things anymore. You know what you can do? You can break down those barriers and those, your typical receptionist to get into an organization. You can go right by everybody and get the top person in an organization that can talk about a key topic without going through all the hoops, because people, by and large, love to talk about themselves. Let's be honest, Mark.
Well,
that's the truth.
We are all about ourselves, and honestly, that's part of marketing, right? You've got to make sure you market, remembering that your market really doesn't care about you. Your market cares about how you can help them achieve whatever their mission is. Right? What is the benefit of working with you? But I love this about talking about podcasting, and all of you, you can take this information and look at how you can use it in your own marketing efforts. So if you're thinking about doing a podcast, I think it's a great idea. Remember, you're focusing on your audience. So here we are. What we do at ePresence, we're constantly trying to create valuable content because we want to give you guys, our audience, information that you can use. And I'll tell you why. I mean, there's no hidden secret here. I want you to find us valuable as a source. And if you see us as a source, you're going to come back. And if you come back, you're going to see ePresence. And if you come back and see ePresence, you're going to think, hey, there's a social media firm named ePresence that can help us. So that's the whole goal here. Create evergreen content, exactly like Joe said. This is it, and honestly, if you like it, it's a lot of fun. So we do this video. We're also going to offer this content. As you guys know, we're going to repackage it and drop it on the podcast channel. So Joe, I got to tell you, we need to have, we drop it on our website. We don't have an exclusive website. Well, we do. How'sYourEPresence.com is where they all live, but that lives off of Liberated Syndication, which is where we use our podcast. So it works, but we are always thinking about how we can step that up. So that's good. Fantastic. Love that. Let's move on. Can a business or an individual use data analytics to find their target market? And how would you reach that audience? So how do you, data analytics is, it's sort of like it's out there, right? Yeah. How can you use it to help find your target market?
But how can you use it? You have to use it. I mean, I think that data right now, here's the interesting thing I would say about the time that we live in today. And I know that so much of this is built around, information you can refer back to, and this is relevant no matter what, but our screen time as humans is up, right? The minute a pandemic hit, the minute a new iPhone hits, the minute your kids start to touch advanced devices, screen time goes up. And the first question I always have for anybody that I help in my industry, others, is what have you done lately to increase your ads, increase your marketing to your target audience that is comparable to the amount of increase of screen time? Right. So data says screen time has increased. Question. Have you increased your impressions at that same rate? Other companies have increased it at that rate, right? So that you don't want to be left behind in the age of technology. Data tells you your ideal customer. It tells you your current customer, and it tells you who you want to be as your ideal customer. So you can look at things. We do a lot of market segmentation in higher education. We look at our ideal student profile, our personas, right? So as an example, we know we have the seeker or the shopper. They are sitting down with 3 or 4 colleges side by side and saying which one is the cheapest and the fastest. We have the brand hog that says, I don't care how much it costs. I want to go to this university that costs the most and it gives me the best, because other people think it's great. We have the cost conscious middle tier professional who wants to upgrade their career and make more money. All of those things come with statistical backing. How much money these people make, how quickly do they make decisions, when do they make those decisions, are there times of years, times of day, days of the so all of those things, data analytics help you narrow down your persona. Right now, personas and customer profiles are very important to understand your audience, because if you're advertising online right now, if you're a company that hasn't put a lot into advertising online and now you have to advertise online, which you should be, hopefully, you have to know where you're going, because it's a big frontier, digital advertising. If you don't zero in on some target market, you're going to overspend your budget by millions.
And that's a real challenge when you start to look at spending money online. Reaching your target audience is a big deal, and we all and I think a lot of us, anyone that's trying to advertise online, that's the key. And you can, if you look on social, they'll segment all those channels for you. But Joe, here's the question. Yes, all that data is there and the analytics there. Where do you go to pull the data that helps you see that 18-year-old that is shopping brands? How do you determine their data? Where do you go find that? Is there a service that you use, or have you guys developed your own database that you can exclusively go there?
It's a little of both. I mean, Facebook has an amazing platform, ad platform that allows you to market segment, tells you where your leads are coming from. If you have landing pages, that's going to be important so you can track your UTMs, all of those things. We do some stuff with LinkedIn. We'll take a look at, in partnering with LinkedIn, we can take all of the students that have inquired about the university and we can run them through a LinkedIn whatever the tool they use, and it tells us where those students have gone instead of our university. That gives us some sense of why we didn't get them or what type of choice they made, so that the next time we have that type of student come through, we're much more mindful about how we're selling to them or showing them the degree that we offer, right? So, and then it's a little bit of both. We have reporting internally. We use Google Data Studio to spit out geographic regions where our students are coming from, right? So that's an important part for an online university. Claremont Lincoln University is online. Well, I'm not going to take money and go spend it in Maine because one person submitted information from Maine. I know that we actually have a lot of students that come from Atlanta. That happens to be one of our hotter markets. So I'd rather take all that money I'm going to spend in the Northeast, where we don't have that many students, and spend it in Atlanta, where I know that our message is resonating. So that's important too. But so I think all of those things combined give you profiles. But yeah, it's hard, right? And it's variable and they change. And if you're not looking at spend and you're not looking at data daily, that's how we have to be in higher ed, because there's some big players out there. You probably have heard some of them. University of Phoenix back in the day had over 500,000 students.
Wow.
If you try to market against a university like that, it's not going to happen, right? So you have to be very, very good about zeroing in on your audience.
And this is really interesting to me. And not only do you have the online colleges, you've got, what do you call it? The brick and mortar colleges,
on ground,
in person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're certainly competing with them, but I love that, trying to find the data and question is, and I get this all the time, how do I find my target audience? How do I know what what decisions they're making? And using some of the resources that you've shared, I think that is brilliant. So folks, remember that. So let's shift gears. What does the term social impact community mean, Joe?
Well, to me, it means a couple of things. Number one, you there are things that you can do with people within your network to create impact of some kind. So let's talk about what it sounds like. Social impact community sounds like a community of folks who are getting together to create some level of social impact, right? In education, what that means to us and what a big focus is, I think it's national, but higher ed has a big responsibility, is in the social justice area, diversity, equity, inclusion. So I am in a group with a number of professionals who are dedicated, and really our podcast setup experience is dedicated, and as is Claremont Lincoln University is dedicated to creating a better society. So, you look at social impact community being people around you, people who have the same type of interests and are looking to make an impact for the betterment of all. Right. It also means, your community, which in my case, professionally, is higher ed. And social impact for higher education comes with responsibility, in my opinion. Comes with the necessity to reduce tuition costs. It comes with the necessity to limit student debt and borrowing so that we aren't perpetuating a massive problem in our society, which is being talked about 7 ways from Sunday, right?
Right.
We have a responsibility to create diversity within student bodies, within faculty. We have a responsibility to take a stand as universities and colleges to say that we agree or disagree with some of the societal issues out there. So higher ed has to change as well. So social impact community means affecting change, and also externally and also then internally, in my opinion. And there are people around you. You can't do it alone, right? Social impact community, the word community is very important. Finding people that can help you achieve those goals, right? That's to me what it means.
And I really like this because I haven't really I haven't put that term on it before. And I've always looked at it as your online community, and you can build groups in various social media platforms. It is really interesting. There's ad hoc groups now showing up on Clubhouse. Have you jumped on Clubhouse?
I am on Clubhouse. I will say Clubhouse is like the anti-parent with young kid app. It's, get on Clubhouse right now. We're going to be meeting about so-and-so. I'm like, I'm literally spoon feeding my 3-year-old so he eats. So how am I going to get on Clubhouse? So I'm doing my best. Let me say that.
It is. See, this is kind of funny. This weekend, I was mentioning it to my wife, and what I did is I pulled the app up, and I was paging through it because it's just very foreign to her. And as I'm paging through, I said, "Oh, here's a room. I know some of the people in here." And so I went into the room, and you could hear them talking. And one of them said, "Hey, Mark, talk to us." And so I hit, "Oh, good." And my wife is very introverted. She says, "Don't hit that." And it was too late. And I'm talking away. The dogs start barking. We had friends coming over for dinner. And I said, "It's good to be here. We'll see you guys." Yeah. But I really think that the future of Clubhouse is really going to be interesting because it does allow you to create your own ad hoc social impact community by topic. And so I could create a topic that you think is interesting, and you could pop in there. And if I create some sort of cycle or schedule you're familiar with it, you can say, "Oh yeah, Mark's going to be on at this time. I think I'll jump in there and I can lend my voice to that conversation." And who knows, somebody could end up jumping in there, and we could harness the ability of this group to do more.
That's a great example.
So and this is really cool. I'm going to shift gears one more time. Let's see. I'm checking the time. So
I could talk all day, Mark. So
I know. And I'm moving through these topics a lot faster than I normally do. But let's go through this. This is important because LinkedIn is a space that I really enjoy. How do you recommend using LinkedIn to promote your personal brand and business? And you do something called making reach out. So there's two parts to that question. How do you recommend using LinkedIn to promote a personal brand?
All right. So let's start with, when 1% of people on LinkedIn actually create content. Right. By the way, going back to your original question about podcasting, giving you a way to create content, it's about reusing that content, because content's hard to create. If content creation were easy, everybody would do it, but only 1% of the people on LinkedIn do. Most people are the I forgot the official term, but they're just looking, the window shoppers. They're
trolling.
Trolling. They're just trolling.
It may not be the official word, but it's what I use.
It's a good one. They're just looking. They don't really engage. They look and so on. So when you look at LinkedIn, and this is advice that I give to anybody, and it's for me, it's build out your actual about section. If somebody's going to find your LinkedIn makes it easy and says fill out these sections if you want to have a LinkedIn profile, and then you go on people's LinkedIn profiles and they don't actually fill out any of the sections. It's like, you want to use LinkedIn, follow the directions, where it says, hey, you should fill out this section, go fill it out. Right. So that's where I start. 2, at the bottom sections of LinkedIn, where you have publications and the hobbies and all of these things that you can fill in. People don't take advantage of that, right? LinkedIn categorizes and catalogs all of these search terms that come within the content that you create. So every time I write something, I've got like 12 publications that have been out there, and I hook them up, right? I'm automatically putting the link in there. I've got it there. I use the featured section, which people don't really use that well. What's the featured section, Mark? It's where you put your content that you want to be featured when somebody hits your profile. Right. Mm-hmm. I also go to things like on where you have your name, and it says, my name's Joe Sallustio, and what it says below that is not COO and Executive Vice President of Claremont Lincoln University. What it does say is all the search terms I want to use to have people find me. It says higher ed expert. It says podcaster. It says, online education, so that somebody was actually going to do a keyword search for me for something, they're finding me. Nobody's going to search for the COO of Claremont Lincoln University, right? So when you're talking about using LinkedIn for your personal brand, the first tip I have, use it. Actually take the time and fill out the sections with stuff you've done. And then you go, Mark, what is stuff you've done? Anything. Have you contributed to an article? Have you been in somebody's podcast as a guest? Have you created a video? Have you done anything at all? There's a link that has a link. Do you have a website? Put it in there. Link it up so that LinkedIn's strength becomes super strong for you. So if somebody actually searches for you by name, your LinkedIn profile is the first thing that's coming up, because it's all built with SEO. Anyway, I could go on. I also say the about section, if you just put my name's Joe Sallustio, I'm a higher ed professional, and blah, 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 it's so boring. Nobody's going to actually engage with you. And I think that you have to be fun and funny and authentic, right? And so LinkedIn's about authenticity now. We're all digital, we're all virtual. So if you're not projecting an authentic self, you will have no traction on your personal brand. I can keep going if you want, but
this is good, and I really like this. And folks, this is great. I did not suggest that Joe to ask him to say that about the headline, but it is the key space for search terms. And if you have not harnessed that, go look at Joe's LinkedIn page, and his handle, if you will, on LinkedIn is Joe Sallustio. Go find him and you'll see what I'm talking about.
And Mark, let me just say, don't do it by yourself. If you know somebody that knows how to do it, that can give you tips. If this is what you do here at ePresence, people should reach out and say, hey, look, what do I do? Because if, even if you fill things out, if you don't understand that the three hashtags that you use in a post become part of your URL, if you don't understand that level of intricacy, you won't get your benefit. So reach out to the expert.
Yeah, and that. Thank you for the plug. We do that. We help people get their LinkedIn profile up and clean it up and make it good. But there is, and there's a lot of parts to what you've said, Joe, that are so important, and that is LinkedIn kind of walks you through it. Mm-hmm. And you should spend a Saturday afternoon just setting it up. I do recommend that you take your resume. If you don't have a spot on LinkedIn, go in, grab your page. Take your resume, use it to build your content in there because it's a good guide, but don't make LinkedIn reflect your resume. You can use it as a guide, especially for dates and stuff. Agreed. All right, Joe, I'm going to tell you what, we can continue on. This is great. I like to try to keep our show to 30 minutes. And I hate that because we have so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing such great content. Tell our audience how they can find you.
Claremont Lincoln University is at www.claremontlincoln.edu. We are a master's degree granting institution offering socially conscious education, which is very, very important right now. You can get me on my website, joesallustio.com, and the edupexperience.com is where the podcast is. I'm very easy to find, and I have one heck of a LinkedIn profile. If you want to look me up by name, you can find me there.
Love that. Love that. All right. So if I even go to Google and type Joe Sallustio, I'm probably going to track you down.
You will track me down.
And why? Because Joe has done his best to create his online brand, and he's doing a lot of work getting his name out there. Joe, listen, man, I appreciate you joining us today. I am very impressed with the work that you're doing, and it's, understanding how to reach an audience online is difficult. You've been in this space for a while because your entire audience has always been online.
Always.
So folks, listen, if you're trying to figure something out and try to find, how can I develop an audience? You may not be in higher ed. You need to check out Joe's podcast. Check it out, and you'll see that he's constantly sharing information that's good for the private space, for private industry, and you'll probably learn something new there. Joe, let's stay in touch. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Mark.
So for the rest of you, everyone else, I got to tell you, it was great that Joe talked about how important your LinkedIn profile is. Please remember you can join us for our 1 hour LinkedIn profile improvement. And you can see right there, hit that link, epresence.epe-pr.me/discount. You can join us for our webinar. It's $37.50. It's normally $75. We dropped it $37.50 at the start of the pandemic. And in an hour, we will go through, like what Joe was talking about with your headline. We'll go through and help you build your headline in an hour, so you can walk away with a brand new headline. We talk about how important that about section is and some other key things that'll take your profile. When you finish with us, you're going to see a 400% increase in profile views because you're going to be found. So join us. Love to have you there. Also, the next thing is, let's see. I think that's it. Yes. So Eric, I'm going to move on to here. What is about ePresence? I got all my pages. I got to put numbers on my pages. So thanks for joining us here on How's Your ePresence. If you're curious about ePresence, we are a full service social media agency. So we don't just do LinkedIn. We take care of anything. Eric is currently working with groups all the time, companies all the time, trying to help them reach their audience. So if you are a veterinarian, you're trying to get new patients, you're great at posting puppy dog pictures, but your audience doesn't know really what sets you apart, we can help you with that. We'll make sure your branding is consistent. So give us a call. We can help make your veterinarian practice really blow up. You're going to have to hire some more doctors if you call us, just let you know. So if that's important to you, give us a buzz or hit us right online, epresence.me. That's epresence.me, because it's all about you. So back to the show here. ePresence, it's everywhere. You can join us live. You can also subscribe over here. Hit that subscribe button. Join us every live show. You can ask us a question, and we'll be happy to ask our guest. Also, remember, we drop all these shows right on to all the major podcast sites, so you can find us everywhere: iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, even on your Amazon Echo. We're constantly adding new content, so you can always just stay on top of all the new current trends that are going on in digital marketing. This show is produced by Eric Welch. I've talked to him a couple times in today's show. He is our director of social media and the producer of this show. And until next time, for my guest, Dr. Joe Sallustio, I am Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?